This video features details of violent crime, homicide, and child physical and sexual abuse, among other topics some might find upsetting. Viewer discretion is strongly advised. At about 2:50 p.m. on the 31st of July 2001, police began receiving reports from several witnesses describing a suspicious bundle of fabric floating in the river mine in Nied, Frankfurt, Germany. When they arrived on scene, police pulled the bundle from the river and began their investigation. The first sight to hit them was a brown leopard print duvet cover, evidently concealing something, tied in place with two 2 to 4 inch wide braided lilac and white drawstring belts. These belts were later identified as traditional clothing items worn in Afghanistan, India, and Pakistan, known as nalas. When these belts were untied and the duvet cover was unfolded, police found a knotted white terry cloth bedsheet covering the nude body of what appeared to be a young girl. The girl's legs were folded against her chest, fashioning her into a squatting or fetal position, with her arms pressed tight against her body. The body and the blankets it was wrapped within were fastened by the 2 ropes to a white parasol stand, probably in a failed attempt to make them sink. Investigators revealed that the body was probably thrown into the water at the Greisheim barrage, no further than 3 kilometers from where it was recovered. The body was received by the pathologist at 5 p.m., just 2 hours after it was found. The examination of the body lasted until 1:30 a.m., that's 8.5 hours later, making it one of the longest autopsies ever recorded in Frankfurt. The pathologist thought the girl could have been deceased for up to 3 days, though she'd only been in the water for between 12 and 24 hours. It quickly became clear that she was the victim of an especially vicious homicide. She'd sustained massive blunt force trauma, concentrated around her stomach and chest, leading to 2 fractured ribs. Those fractured ribs led to a punctured lung, a ruptured spleen, and a lacerated liver. Ultimately, the victim died from multiple organ failure, resulting from the internal bleeding caused by these injuries. The post-mortem examinations made it abundantly clear that this act of violence was not an isolated incident. This girl had fallen victim to extreme and long-term physical abuse. Unhealed injuries and open wounds were found in various locations across her entire body. 8 lacerations to her scalp were noted. More than 30 long, thin scars were scattered across her forehead, torso, and legs, probably the result of her repeatedly being cut by knives. Several burn scars, some from cigarettes, were littered across her body. Her left ear was deformed by repeated blunt force trauma, a condition known as cauliflower ear. She'd suffered several previous fractures to both upper arms, which had healed in the wrong position, suggesting she never received any proper medical treatment for her injuries. She also had previous fractures to her forearm and hands, thought to have been deliberately inflicted. Like her other fractures, these were never medically treated. According to Interpol, there were indications that she was also a victim of sexual abuse, though it's noted there were no signs of pregnancy or genital trauma as a result. Detectives concluded this girl had endured, quote, torture since early childhood, unquote. Her injuries were so severe that they would have immobilized her for extended periods of time. Despite this, there were no traces of any medications found in her bloodstream. Though the victim was fair-skinned, her exact nationality remains uncertain. DNA and isotope analysis concluded that while she could have possibly been Southern European or Middle Eastern, she was most probably Indian, Pakistani, or Afghan. Her estimated age range is anywhere between 12 and 19 years old. Bone and teeth development indicated she was most likely between 15.5 and 17.5 years old, though she visually appeared about 13 and had only just begun developing breasts. At 5 feet 2 inches tall, she was notably underweight at only 85 pounds. Her general build has been described as petite and girlish. Her dark brown or black hair was approximately 12 inches long, reaching her shoulders. Thick, dark hair of up to 2 centimeters in length was present on her lower legs, though all other areas of body hair had been shaved. Both ears and her nose had been pierced. All her teeth were intact, and there was no evidence of any dental work or professional dental care. Her wisdom teeth had mineralized but were unerupted. In the days following the discovery, police and canines investigated every single ship and vessel, up to 144 in total, that crossed the river Main between Nied and the Greisheim barrage in the days leading up to the discovery of the body. No further evidence was uncovered from this endeavour. A description of the victim and the items found with her was widely televised, but no one came forward with any relevant information. Appeals in German, Urdu, Punjabi, and Pashto were circulated in the press, on the radio, and online, and still these efforts bore no results. No matching missing person report was ever filed, with police ruling out over 250 missing girls from Germany and the surrounding countries within the first year of the investigation. The deceased girl's DNA and fingerprints were entered into worldwide databases, including those in the US held by the FBI, but no matches were ever made. The sheet, bedspread, and parasol stand found with the body were determined to be mass-produced items widely sold in a variety of stores throughout Europe. The parasol stand alone sold in quantities of about 10,000 units per year. Thus, the only lead investigators really had to follow was the girl's possible connection to Afghanistan or Pakistan, as indicated by the nalas tied around her body. And so, officers distributed posters depicting the girl in several churches and youth centres across Afghanistan, Pakistan, and northern India. These posters were shared in German, Turkish, Arabic, Farsi, Urdu, Dari, and Pashto. Despite intensive efforts, these posters did not result in an identification of the victim. Using immigration records, officials sourced an exhaustive list of young women originally from Afghanistan, Pakistan, and India who travelled to Germany to live there. This list consisted of over 1,000 women, and investigators visited every single one to question them about the girl found in the River Main. In the end, no one admitted to knowing her. As there was no official record of her immigration, investigators believe the victim probably entered Germany, quote, under the radar. Continuing to follow the best clue they had, German police spent the first year following the girl's death investigating over 850 Pakistani, Afghan, and Indian families who were known to have lived in Frankfurt am Main. Police were thorough in their investigation, checking that all the girls in the families who would have been about the same age as the deceased girl were present or otherwise accounted for. It seems they all ultimately were. Police chose to distribute posters about the deceased girl to each family in their native languages, but not one person admitted to knowing the girl or to knowing what happened to her. DNA and isotope analysis, when conducted, confirmed police suspicions that the victim was probably born in Afghanistan, Pakistan, or northern India. Some sources do widen this area to the neighbouring regions, ranging from the Middle East to the Mediterranean. A 2002 press release instead indicated the girl may have been born in Germany to Pakistani, Afghan, or Indian parents. This is the one and only source I could find that states she might have been German-born, so take this with a grain of salt. According to the vast majority of sources, indications were that the girl moved from her birthplace to Germany when she was between 4 months and 5 years old. It appears she spent the rest of her short life moving throughout Germany, with her later childhood possibly being spent in rural parts of the Odenwald, Rheinfels, or Hunsrück areas. It's believed she spent the last 22 months of her life in an urban area of Germany, probably in a city, quite possibly within the Frankfurt Rhein-Main area. It was determined that in the 3 months leading up to her death, she had not made any significant travel movements. Some older sources widen her potential places of residence in her final 2 years to anywhere across the whole of Germany, Holland, Austria, or Switzerland. It's much more widely agreed upon, however, that she was born in South Asia, moved to Germany in very early childhood, and remained there for the rest of her life. According to police, there were indications that the victim was brought to Germany as a domestic servant for a diplomatic family, who then abused her. In the 5-year period following the victim's death, Frankfurt police investigated several cases of servant girls facing similar abuse at the hands of their employers. Unfortunately, no progress was made with this lead due to a certain degree of legal immunity within these diplomatic circles. Police also theorized that the victim came to Germany as a foster child or adoptee, but nothing could be proven. Due to her probable roots in countries with large Muslim populations, a reconstruction of the victim was created in which she's depicted wearing a religious headscarf, but it unfortunately appears this did not lead to anyone recognizing her. Police believe it's probable that the girl never attended school and never once went to the doctor or to the dentist. They think she might have been held captive in a closed environment and isolated from the world for much of her life. In 2010, police revealed that in the first 9 years of the investigation, they'd only received a total of 250 tips regarding the girl from the mine. They went on to state that in typical cases of missing German children, they'd usually receive 200 tips in a single day. This discrepancy does seem to support the theory that the girl was heavily isolated. In earlier stages of the investigation, police stated they assumed the perpetrator's family and/or social circle were aware of their involvement in this crime, but were refusing to come forward with information. Police also speculated there might have been a sexual element to this crime, with the girl perhaps being locked up and beaten because she might have had premarital sex. I don't put much stock into this theory though, not when the evidence suggests she was abused in a multitude of ways from a very early age. I only mention it because it came directly from an investigator on the case. Still unidentified, the girl was ultimately buried at the Heiligenstock Cemetery in Frankfurt am Main. Her funeral ceremony and her headstone were paid for by the homicide squad investigating her death. Her headstone is inscribed with the following: Unknown girl, found on the 31st of July, 2001, in Frankfurt am Main. In October 2024, a renewed appeal for information in the case of the girl from the mine was released by Interpol as part of their international Identify Me campaign. Though this did lead to an influx of press coverage and a few online discussions about the case, it has not yet led to the identity of the girl from the mine or the identity of her killer. As of March 2025, I'm afraid that is all the information I can provide. This case remains an open homicide investigation, and the Public Prosecutor's Office in Frankfurt has offered a reward of €10,000 for tips leading to the identification of the perpetrators of this crime. German police remain eager to speak to anyone with potential information regarding this girl and/or her murder. If this is you, a number of agencies are available for you to contact. The Frankfurt Main Criminal Investigation Department can be reached by calling 069 755 6688. The Hessian Police can be contacted via email at ccu.hlka@polizei.hessen.de. If you'd rather contact Interpol, please follow the link on screen and in the description to provide them with your information through their online form. And finally, if you wish to tell authorities what you might know in person, you can go to any police station in Germany and they will accept your information. Thank you all very much for giving the girl from the mine a moment of your day.